Good afternoon, good evening, good night. This is Ian from Shown Design, and today we are going to be inking up some Monoc nibs, and we're going to be talking about troubleshooting some ink flow issues that can be common with a Monoc nib on your first inking. So let's sit down, and without further ado, let's ink up a brand new Monoc. Let's go. All right, hello friends, we are back. So I've got a Monoc here. This has been ground and tested in my studio, but it's been sitting for a few days, so it's fully dried out. And this is basically the condition that you're gonna get your Monoc in, clean and dried after having been ground and tested in the studio for ink flow. So we would take this and install it into our pen. It just threads in there. If you have a Yovo nib, you can unthread the Yovo nib. You could do this in a pocket 6 or a full size. Right now we've got a full size saffron cement with this satin blue rainbow. Looks great. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna ink it from the back. Now, if you're inking it from the front, you're gonna have less issues because the ink flows in through the feed and really saturates everything and makes for an easier experience. So if you wanna skip a lot of this, just ink it from the front and everything should be hunky-dory, and follow our instructions on priming on the website under Monoc FAQ. The priming will tell you how to ink the nib and how to get it going. So let's assume, it does take a second for a Monoc to flow, so I could like shake it and get it going, but let's assume that this one's not flowing, right? Let's say that this remains dry, there's no ink in there, you can see there's no ink in the Ultem, or let's say there's very little ink and it's not as wet as you think it should be. Great. Let's go ahead and take this apart and do a cleaning step before we ink it, and this will help troubleshoot and get things rolling, and I'll show you what to look for. So we're gonna take off our cartridge, our converter, assuming that the nib is not flowing. Let's say it's being stubborn. So we're gonna take one of our cleaning tools. You either got a syringe that's drilled out for our Monoc, or you got one of these lure attachments. Apologies, there's a little inky water in here. I shot this video twice because the last version was too long, so we're gonna try and do a fast edit this time. Anyways, put the nib in here, go ahead and flush out. It looks like there was some ink already flowing into the feed, which is good. I would expect as much, but sometimes it takes some time. So if you're like, I don't have time for that, take your cleaning tool, grab some water, and give it a couple flushes real quick. Then grab some paper towel and blot the nib and feed, okay? It doesn't need to be fully dry. You'd actually like the feed to have a little bit of water and wetness on the surface because it'll help things along. I'm gonna take the cartridge or the converter, right? In this case, it's converter, and install it into the pen. Some manufacturers actually put a clear ink in their pens when shipping them because it helps alleviate this issue. We do not do that. So this is a good way to start from dry and get things going. So we reinstalled our converter. We're flowing it from the back just to show the most difficult inking scenario. It's way easier to fill from the front again, but from the back is what people do with cartridges. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a paper towel and try and run out some of this watery ink onto the paper towel. Let's see, do I have another paper towel here? Yes, I do. We're getting a bit of ink through already, which is great. That's a great sign. The water really helps here. I'm gonna go ahead and make a bunch of long strokes with the front and back of the nib. This will, again, get the feed to start functioning. We're pulling ink through it. We're getting the airflow channels going. You're gonna start to see a lot of bubbles form in the cartridge or the converter, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But I'm gonna actually grab this and I'm gonna put a bit on the top and get like a lot of stuff flowing out of the feed. I want a lot of that inky water out. I'll wipe that off there. Nice. So one thing I look for when I'm testing a Monoc, this is kind of an aside, and we're gonna do a writing sample really soon, is what I'll do is I'll run the nib on paper towel a bunch to strain the feed, because this is gonna pull a lot more ink out of the feed than normal paper would. But this is basically stressing the feed out. It's like saying, hey, can you keep up? And if it can, that's really good. And what you'll see when you do this, try and see if I can get this zoomed in enough. You're gonna see a lot of small bubbles forming. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take the paper towel and I'm gonna wrap it around the feed. I'm gonna really pull a lot of ink out of it. And what you'll see, hopefully, if I can get this demo to work, there they are. You see the little bubbles forming and bursting? That's good. That means that there's an air and ink exchange happening. See that bubbles? Very nice. This demo is so good. Good job. Good job, me. Anyways, this is a good way to see if your nib is respiring correctly. It's breathing, right? It's exchanging air for ink. And as those bubbles are bursting, you know that air is flowing into the cartridge or the converter, and ink is flowing out the front of the pen. So that's a pretty hardcore test. We like that. So after doing that, your feed's gonna be pretty exhausted. So you're gonna wanna like wait a sec for it to come back. Take a break, little feed. And then we can do a little writing sample. There's still a little water in this feed. Not a ton, but there's a little bit because I can see my saturation, my ink is off. So I'm gonna wanna soak that out a little more. Sometimes I even wrap the nib and I like shake, give it a little shake. Nothing crazy. There we go. Yeah, now we're talking. There's the ink without the water. We like that, see? So we got the rest of the water out. We've got our beautifully wet ink here. We've got our new cursive nib. Oh yeah. Joink. So this thing's a ripper. It's got a lot of ink. Flow is happy. Things are good. So now you have seen how we've taken a stubborn feed straight out of the box, straight from our studio, gave it a quick clean with our cleaning tool to kind of wet the feed and get things ready to accept the ink. This can, again, this is just a basic thing you can do to troubleshoot a nib that's having trouble flowing out of the box and get things working the way they should. And we also went over the cartridge converter bubble check to see if your feed is respiring correctly. That's something we do in the studio with everything. We test all of these nibs and feeds with these same conditions in the studio just to like make sure that things are working correctly before we ship them out to you, because we don't ship bad pens. We don't do that. That's not what we do. Sure, we make mistakes. We're human beings, but we try our darndest to test all of these things to the nth degree, and I personally grind and check every single nib because I'm neurotic. And with that, have a great day. Thank you for listening. Feedback in the comments. Tell me how good of a job I did. Hooray. Give me praise. I don't know. I'm feeling weird today. I need to go have a snack. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a great day and enjoy your nib. Bye.